Jerry's an old, friend of Ed, played by Bob De Niro, and there's Danny, who's played by Cheech Marin.
At 82, the legendary Christopher Walken, known for his unforgettable voice and captivating screen presence, has finally opened up about a hidden chapter of his family's past that few ever imagined. In a rare and deeply personal revelation, Walken breaks his silence on the criminal history of his grandfather, a man whose shadow loomed quietly behind the Hollywood icon's rise to fame. So, what secrets exactly lie buried beneath the charm and charisma? Stay tuned as we delve into the astonishing truth Walken has kept hidden for decades. Solitary cells, silent suffering, and the courage to start over. The discovery of Joseph Egan's true identity unlocked an even darker side of the past. Inside the archives lay more than just brittle documents and yellowing photographs. They contained the hidden story of a man whose life had been scarred by crime and the heavy price he paid for it. It was the year 1883 when Joseph Egan was caught by the law. His offense wasn't petty theft or a youthful mistake. He had been receiving stolen goods and then selling them on, an act considered a serious crime in Victorian England. The court wasted no time in sentencing him to 5 long years behind bars. He was sent to Pentonville Prison, a grim fortress on the edge of London that had earned a reputation as one of the harshest institutions in the country. Pentonville was not merely a place to lock people away. It was deliberately designed to crush a man's spirit and rebuild him in the mold of a repentant soul, if he survived it. The prison operated on a chilling belief that complete silence and isolation would force a criminal to reflect and change. Imagine Joseph, a leather merchant who once made an honest living, confined alone in a tiny cell no bigger than a large closet, 12 feet long and 8 feet wide. For up to 9 months, he likely sat there without hearing another prisoner's voice. He wasn't allowed to speak, not even a whisper, to anyone except the guards or the chaplains who came by to check that he hadn't completely lost his sanity to the loneliness. Imagine the cold stone walls closing in, the hollow sound of his own breathing in the silence, the endless days and nights marked only by the shuffle of a guard's boots. Every hour must have felt like a year. After that grueling period, Joseph was moved to a different prison in Dorset, where the punishment shifted from mental to physical. There, he spent the rest of his sentence doing back-breaking manual labor. By the time the prison doors finally swung open and he stepped into the daylight, he was a different man, worn down, haunted, and carrying the permanent stigma of a criminal record. In Victorian Britain, a criminal past was a curse that almost no one could outrun. Joseph tried desperately to build a new life, but no matter how hard he worked, people never let him forget what he had done. The stain on his name clung to him, making every step toward respectability feel impossible. He died still struggling with poverty and regret, weighed down by the consequences of his choices. For his daughter Rosalie, the knowledge of this past must have been a heavy burden to carry. Her father's prison record, a birth certificate stamped illegitimate, branding her as a child born outside marriage. A last name she probably never felt she could claim without shame. Is it any wonder that in 1930, Rosalie made the bold decision to leave it all behind? She boarded a ship, determined to cross the ocean and never look back. Her son Christopher would later come to see that her silence wasn't simply a refusal to talk about her past. It was a way of shielding herself and him from the judgment of others. In those days, being known as the daughter of a convict could ruin a woman's chances of finding love or earning respect. It was a mark that could follow her forever. Rosalie chose instead to start over, alone, in a new country where no one knew her story. She reinvented herself, creating a life that was hers alone. But there was one detail she couldn't quite leave behind: the birth certificate she had amended in 1935, just before she married. Though she never shared her father's name with her son, something in her needed it recorded, if only in the official records. Maybe she needed to have it acknowledged, Christopher thought to himself, even if she could never bring herself to say it out loud. It was as though she wanted to honor the fact that Joseph Egan had given her life, even if she needed to keep her distance from everything he represented. Standing in the archives decades later, holding the prison mugshot in his hands, Christopher felt something deeper than curiosity. It was a sense of closure, as if he had found a missing piece of the family puzzle he never knew was there. He could finally understand how his mother's strength and determination, her refusal to be defined by shame, had shaped not just her destiny, but his own. All of us inherit complicated stories from the people who came before us. Some ancestors fill us with pride. Others we bury in silence. But even the painful chapters of a family history hold power. They explain why certain things were never spoken of. They reveal the quiet bravery it takes to begin again. In the end, Christopher Walken's search wasn't simply about uncovering a name. It was about discovering the hidden forces that molded his mother's life, and realizing that her secret history had shaped him too. "It's amazing," he whispered to himself. "You really never know what you'll uncover when you look into your family's past." Sometimes, even the secrets left unspoken can show you who you are more clearly than you ever imagined. Christopher's mother tried to break herself away from her biological father, avoiding anything that has to do with him like plague. What did she do? Where did she go? Let's delve into the details of Rosalie Russell, Christopher Walken's mother, as she concealed the truth about her biological father. A lifetime of secrets. When you look at Christopher Walken, one of Hollywood's most celebrated actors, famous for that unforgettable voice and a screen presence you can't look away from, you'd probably assume he has always lived a life bathed in glamour and certainty. After all, success seemed to shine naturally around him. But hidden behind the movie sets, the awards, and the flashing cameras was a family story so tangled in secrecy that even Walken himself didn't discover the whole truth until much later in his life. This story had its roots far from Hollywood, across the ocean in Glasgow, Scotland. In the early 1900s, that was where his mother, Rosalie Russell, was born. The circumstances of her birth and childhood were a foggy territory, full of things people didn't talk about openly. Even as a boy, Christopher could sense that parts of his mother's life were locked away behind closed doors. She was always warm, gentle, and loving with her children. But she never offered stories about where she came from. If you asked, she would smile and quietly change the subject. Her early years, her father, those details seemed almost forbidden. Yet there was one undeniable fact no one could ignore. In 1930, when Rosalie was only 22 years old, she boarded a ship crossing the Atlantic, carrying just her suitcases and a fierce determination to start over. That voyage was more than an escape from her homeland. It was the beginning of a new identity. She left behind her country, her family, and even the name she had grown up with. She was stepping into a life she could shape herself, away from the shadows of her past. Christopher never thought much about why she had chosen such a radical break. Growing up in New York, he simply accepted it. His childhood memories were filled with visits from his grandmother, who sometimes brought along her second husband, Christopher's step-grandfather. This man was a figure who seemed larger than life itself, As a boy, Christopher had been fascinated by him. He could still remember how his step-grandfather would take off his shirt and reveal the tattoos covering his back. Two giant faces of a king and queen, their mouths stretched wide in laughter whenever he moved. To young Christopher, he was just Grandpa. But even in those early days, there was a small, persistent feeling that this wasn't really his grandfather in the blood sense. This was the second husband, kind and colorful, but not the man who connected him to the roots he didn't understand. And so, an unspoken question hovered in the corners of his mind for years. Who was my real grandfather? Eventually, when the curiosity became too big to ignore, Christopher decided to seek answers. He reached out to the National Archives of Scotland, determined to pull back the curtain on this hidden part of his family. At first, all they uncovered was a brittle birth certificate, yellowed with age, and on that paper was the discovery he had both feared and suspected. Rosalie had been born with no father listed at all. The space for his name was blank, like he had never existed. For a moment, it felt like the trail had ended there, like the past would keep its secrets forever. But sometimes, persistence has a way of shaking loose the truth. Just when Christopher was about to give up, another document appeared that changed everything. It turned out that in 1935, right before she married in New York, Rosalie had done something remarkable. She had written back to Scotland to request a new birth certificate. To an outsider, it might have looked like ordinary paperwork, but to Christopher, it felt like a powerful statement. She hadn't abandoned every trace of her past. She still cared enough to correct the record. When the updated document arrived, it contained the missing puzzle piece. The name Joseph Egan, occupation leather merchant. Christopher felt his breath catch. Joseph Egan, he had never heard that name before in his life. His mother had never spoken it, not once. She was always Russell, he said later, the unfamiliar name tasting strange on his tongue. Why had she never shared it? Why did she feel she needed to hide this part of her story from her own children? While these questions echoed in his mind, the archivist slid a folder toward him. Would you like to turn the page? Inside was a carefully preserved photograph, a mugshot. It was the first image Christopher ever saw of his real grandfather. The man in the picture had a face marked by hardship. His jaw was broad and unyielding, his hands thick and rough, his eyes deep wells of disappointment and defiance. He looks like a tough customer, Christopher whispered as he studied the photo. Look at his hands and the shape of his head. Then, almost without expecting it, he felt something familiar, a resemblance he couldn't deny. I see my mother in his face, the eyes, the mouth. After a lifetime of wondering, the phantom ancestor had a name and a face he would never forget. His real grandfather's unknown identity is obviously one of the things that has affected his life in some ways. Could it be in his childhood years, or something more? Let's dive into the details of Christopher Walken's early life. Christopher's early life. Christopher Walken, who was originally named Ronald Walken, came into the world on March 31, 1943. He was born in Astoria, a lively neighborhood in Queens, New York City. His family background was a colorful blend of cultures and hard work. His mother, Rosalie Russell, had journeyed all the way from Glasgow, Scotland, bringing with her the hopes and determination of an immigrant seeking a better life. His father, Paul Walken, was from Gelsenkirchen, Germany, and he too was chasing his own version of the American dream. Together, Rosalie and Paul started Walken's Bakery in Astoria. This little bakery was more than just a family business. It was a symbol of their perseverance and a place that would form the backdrop to Walken's earliest memories. The bakery's warm smell of fresh bread, the clatter of trays, and the steady rhythm of hard work, no doubt shaped his understanding of dedication from a young age. Walken wasn't given his name by accident. His parents decided to name him after the famous actor Ronald Colman, perhaps a small hint that he was destined to spend his life performing in front of audiences. Although he was raised in the Methodist faith, it was his mother's big dreams that truly influenced the course of his childhood. Rosalie had always longed for the bright lights of show business, and she passed that yearning on to her sons. It wasn't long before young Ronald and his brothers, Kenneth and Glenn, were appearing as child actors on television during the 1950s. For them, performing wasn't just a hobby. It was almost a family tradition inspired by their mother's vision of stardom. But Walken's journey into the world of fame didn't stop with the early TV appearances. When he was 15 years old, an encounter with an image of Elvis Presley changed his life forever. One day, his girlfriend showed him a picture of Elvis in a magazine. The young Walken was struck by how extraordinary Elvis looked. He later described Elvis as resembling a Greek god, larger than life, impossibly cool. When he finally saw Elvis perform on television, Walken was completely captivated. From that moment on, he decided to model himself after the king of rock and roll. He even styled his hair to look like Elvis's iconic pompadour, a look he would keep unchanged for decades. Walken's teenage years were marked by a sense of adventure and curiosity. In a move that seems almost unbelievable today, he once worked briefly as a lion tamer trainee in a traveling circus. For a short period, he was learning to handle the enormous, powerful creatures. This unusual experience hints at the fearless, unpredictable spirit that would later shine through in many of his movie roles. After high school, Walken took his first steps toward a more traditional path when he enrolled at Hofstra University. However, he quickly realized that his true calling wasn't in a college classroom. His life took another decisive turn when he was cast in the role of Clayton Dutch Miller in an off-Broadway production of Best Foot Forward. He starred alongside the young Liza Minnelli, who would later become an icon herself. This opportunity was too exciting to pass up. So, after only a year at Hofstra, Walken decided to leave university behind and devote himself fully to performing. Walken's artistic training didn't start with acting alone. He began as a dancer, taking lessons at the Washington Dance Studio. There, he learned discipline, balance, and the art of expression without words, skills that would serve him throughout his career. Over time, he transitioned from dancing to dramatic stage roles. His talent and versatility soon carried him into the world of film, where he developed a reputation for playing eccentric and unforgettable characters. Looking back on Walken's early life, it's clear that every step, every influence, every daring decision shaped him into the distinctive performer he became. From the Scottish and German roots of his family to the smell of warm bread in the family bakery, from childhood TV sets to the spectacle of the circus, each experience was like a thread woven into the rich tapestry of his life. His fascination with Elvis gave him the confidence to embrace his own unique style, while his training in dance gave him the grace and presence that would later electrify audiences. Christopher Walken's journey isn't just about his incredible talent. It's also a bold tale of chasing whatever thrilled him, from performing daring acts like taming lions to captivating audiences on stage. This fearless curiosity and refusal to blend in have shaped him into one of Hollywood's most admired and intriguing figures. Walken has always chosen to follow his own path, instead of copying others. That rare courage to stay authentic and embrace adventure is exactly why he stands out and commands so much respect in the world of film and beyond. One great thing about Christopher is the fact that he did not allow his challenge to define him. He rose to stardom and defied all odds. Do you know who Christopher Walken is? Let's dig into the details of who Christopher Walken is and what he has become. Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken is a legendary American actor whose instantly recognizable voice, quirky charm, and magnetic screen presence have made him stand out among the greatest performers of his time. For decades, he has dazzled audiences in theaters and movie houses, winning countless awards and nominations that celebrate his incredible talent. His impressive collection includes an Academy Award, a BAFTA Award, and a Screen Actors Guild Award. In addition, he's been nominated twice for the respected Primetime Emmy Awards and twice for the Tony Awards. Altogether, his films have earned over $1.6 billion in the US alone, showing just how much people love watching him. Walken didn't start off as a superstar. Like many actors, he began with small roles that offered only glimpses of the brilliance that would later define his career. In the 1970s, he landed supporting parts in films such as The Anderson Tapes in 1971, Next Stop, Greenwich Village in 1976, Roseland in 1977, and Woody Allen's beloved Annie Hall in 1977. These early performances were stepping stones that helped shape the actor he would become. Then, in 1978, everything changed. Walken took on the role of Nick Chevatarovich, a troubled Vietnam War veteran haunted by his memories, in the gripping movie The Deer Hunter. His raw, unforgettable portrayal touched audiences deeply and won him an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Overnight, Walken's name became known across the world, and a whole new range of opportunities opened up before him. Over the years, Walken proved that his talent wasn't limited to just one kind of role. In 2002, he earned another Academy Award nomination, this time for playing Frank Abagnale Sr., the weary but loving father of a con artist in Steven Spielberg's Catch Me If You Can. In that film, Walken brought warmth and sorrow to his character, showing viewers how a father's heartbreak can lie just beneath a gentle smile. Since those early milestones, Walken has never slowed down. He has embraced characters in every genre imaginable: drama, comedy, suspense, and action. Whether he's the lead actor commanding the story or the unforgettable supporting player who steals every scene, he always makes an impact that lingers long after the credits roll. His talent doesn't stop at the movies. Television audiences have also enjoyed his remarkable performances. In 1982, he starred in the TV film Who Am I This Time?, playing a shy hardware store clerk who becomes a bold romantic hero whenever he performs in local theater. Almost 10 years later, in 1991, Walken appeared in Sarah, Plain and Tall, a heartfelt drama that earned him a Primetime Emmy nomination for his moving role as a widowed farmer looking for love and hope. In more recent years, Walken has continued to impress on television. In 2021, he joined the ensemble cast of The Outlaws, portraying a mischievous older man completing community service with a group of oddballs. Then, in 2022, he starred in the critically acclaimed series Severance, a workplace thriller that blended mystery and dark humor. His nuanced performance in Severance was so captivating that it brought him yet another Emmy nomination. Walken's unique sense of humor is another reason audiences adore him. He has hosted Saturday Night Live 7 times, delivering hilarious, unforgettable sketches. Fans will never forget his over-the-top turn as record producer Bruce Dickinson in the famous More Cowbell skit, where he insisted, "I gotta have more cowbell." He also made people roar with laughter as the bumbling romantic in The Continental and the disgraced Confederate officer, Colonel Angus. Beyond the screen, Walken has always felt a strong connection to the theater. In 1975, he appeared on Broadway in Tennessee Williams' Sweet Bird of Youth, performing alongside the acclaimed actress Irene Worth. He's also taken on some of Shakespeare's most iconic roles: Hamlet, Macbeth, Romeo, and Coriolanus, breathing fresh life and his trademark voice into characters audiences have known for centuries. Walken has even proven he can sing and dance. In 2000, he starred in the Broadway musical James Joyce's The Dead, earning a Tony Award nomination for Best Actor in a Musical. 10 years later, he received another Tony nomination, this time for Best Actor in a Play, for his role in Martin McDonagh's darkly comic A Behanding in Spokane. Christopher Walken's creativity goes far beyond acting. In 1995, he showed another layer of his talent by writing and starring in Him, an unusual play about his lifelong hero, Elvis Presley. This daring project wasn't just entertainment. It proved Walken's fearless drive to push artistic limits and dive into fresh, unexpected territory. It revealed his deep imagination and his passion for telling stories in bold, original ways. Throughout his long and varied career, Christopher Walken has shown an almost magical ability to disappear into any role. Whether he's making you laugh, breaking your heart, or keeping you in suspense, he brings something special every time. His work continues to inspire actors, delight audiences, and remind everyone that true talent never fades. Christopher Walken's story is one that serves as a reminder and gives hope to many who feel hindered by their origins or background on their path to success. Let's delve into the details of the legacy Christopher Walken lays for the coming generations. Christopher Walken's legacy. Christopher Walken's legacy is a shining example of what it means to live and breathe your art. Over many decades, he has built a rich and varied body of work that still sparks the imagination of actors, directors, and audiences all around the world. From the very beginning of his career, Walken stood out for his willingness to dive into roles that many others would have found too strange, too risky, or simply too demanding. Yet, it was precisely this courage and curiosity that helped shape him into the legendary figure we celebrate today. Walken's style is instantly recognizable. His voice, with its unmistakable rhythm and unexpected pauses, has become almost as famous as the characters he plays. But it's not just his voice that draws people in. It's the way he fully commits to every performance, no matter how big or small the part. Whether he's playing a terrifying villain, a quirky outsider, or a misunderstood hero, he brings a level of authenticity and dedication that makes you believe every word he says. He never does anything halfway, and that commitment shines through in every scene. One of the most remarkable things about Walken's career is how easily he moves between genres. He can star in a dark psychological thriller one year and then pop up in a lighthearted comedy the next, all without missing a beat. This versatility has allowed him to avoid being trapped in any single category. He has played dancers, gangsters, fathers, soldiers, and countless other characters, each with their own unique stories and struggles. In doing so, he has proven that true talent has no limits and that great actors can bring any role to life if they have the courage to try. Walken's fearlessness has made him a role model for generations of performers who dream of forging their own paths. Instead of following trends or sticking to the safety of familiar parts, he has consistently chosen projects that challenge him creatively. His filmography is full of unexpected turns, which is one of the reasons his career has remained fresh and exciting. Young actors often look to Walken as proof that you don't have to fit into a neat box to succeed. In fact, being different can be your greatest strength. Beyond his talent in front of the camera, Walken is also known for his professionalism and work ethic. Directors often speak with admiration about how prepared he is on set, how seriously he takes his craft, and how willing he is to rehearse until everything feels just right. He doesn't rest on past achievements or assume that experience alone will carry him through. Instead, he approaches every new project with the same hunger and humility he showed as a young actor just starting out. This dedication has earned him the respect of countless collaborators, from first-time filmmakers to seasoned Hollywood veterans. Even when he appears in smaller roles or brief cameos, Walken's presence lingers in the minds of viewers. He has a gift for making the most of every moment, turning even the simplest line of dialogue into something memorable. Sometimes it's just a look in his eyes, or a subtle gesture that reveals hidden layers of feeling. Other times, it's the unexpected humor he weaves into otherwise serious scenes. This ability to surprise an audience is part of what has kept his career so vital and relevant. For all these reasons and more, Walken's impact on the entertainment industry is profound. He has helped to expand ideas about what an actor can be and what stories can be told. His performances have inspired countless other artists to take risks, trust their instincts, and embrace the strange and unpredictable sides of their own personalities. Whenever a young actor steps onto a stage or in front of a camera, determined to do something bold and original, there is a little bit of Walken's spirit in that choice. But perhaps what makes Christopher Walken's legacy most enduring is the way he has connected with audiences on a human level. His characters often carry a sense of vulnerability or loneliness beneath their surface, reminding us that even the most unusual people have hearts that can break, hopes that can fade, and dreams that keep them going. Whether he is making us laugh, shiver, or reflect, Walken never forgets to show us something true about ourselves. Looking back on the many films and plays he has graced, it becomes clear that Christopher Walken has left an imprint that will not fade with time. His body of work is more than just a collection of roles. It's a testament to the power of originality, discipline, and passion. As the years go by, his performances will continue to be discovered and rediscovered by new generations who will find inspiration in his fearless choices and unforgettable presence. In the end, Walken has shown that greatness doesn't come from playing it safe or sticking to the expected path. It comes from having the courage to be different, the skill to transform every role into something meaningful, and the heart to keep exploring new possibilities no matter how long you've been in the game. His legacy will continue to echo in the halls of film and theater for many years to come, reminding us all of what is possible when you truly dedicate yourself to your craft. What do you think about Christopher Walken's discovery of his grandfather's criminal history? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.